I had no idea my paddle was
Sideways?
and sideways like that.
Okay, so again, so we talked about that in a different way off the track. We talked earlier about fingers being the wrong way. So the other thing that happens when there's a lack of hip rotation is that some people just make up for the fingers by turning the paddle in their hand, right?
Okay.
So what we see in this is we see your hips are very square, and we see the paddle is angled. So
Okay.
I wouldn't fuss about the paddle. I'd focus on your hips.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, a couple things. I think it also has a lot to do with shoulder position. So what I see, you do have a little bit of hip motion, but it stops.
Okay.
So you're initiating with the shoulders, right? No hip movement yet. Here's where we start to see some hip movement happening through the middle of the stroke. And then it stops there, and then you're just hinging from there.
Okay.
Right? So if we review that, right, you finished the stroke, you led with the shoulders, you then started to get some hips, but then your top arms ended up here, and you stopped moving your hips.
Okay.
Right? And that's a really challenging position to keep moving in, right? Like this top hand is right over your head, right? So,
Sorry, I didn't know I had sound there.
so really think about, in an ideal world, start, lead from the hips. So really start thinking every time you get in the boat, right? Practice that hip movement to get that fluidity there. As you're continuing to work on that, be really conscious of what you're doing with your shoulders, right? If you get your shoulders here, it's going to really limit your mobility in a lot of different directions because of what you had to do to your spine to get that there, right? So keep your shoulders down, right? Retracted, extending out, and then that lets you continue that hip movement all the way down to your catch. That pressure that starts at your exit on that inside heel continues all the way down until you're fully buried, right? You're pushing for extension, you're pushing for extension, you're pushing for extension. You get load on your paddle, then you let that bungee fire shut, right? You got extension, and then it stopped, and then you just went that way,
Okay.
right? So,
I can see that.
yeah. So, hips is number one, shoulder position is number two. As you get that and have that mobility, think about staying open to the catch number